A very good morning to you all. It's a pleasure to see you even from here, from a good 1,000 miles away. I'm in Kansas City. I was going to be actually with you this morning, and then I realized with horror that in 2 days' time, it's my middle son's birthday. Well, I didn't realize with horror. I realized with delight, and then made a very urgent call to your Reverend Debris, who showed her ministerial capabilities in forgiving me and letting me come next week instead. And she gave me a very warm hug when I saw her at convention last week. I was worried she was going to kill me or something, but I'm delighted to get to see you all twice. And the subject of what I'm going to speak with you about this morning is something I'm very passionate about, and struck me, oh gosh, maybe there's a conversation to continue next week. So I want to start with something. Say, I don't know if anyone's ever said this out loud, but ministry is a funny thing, because ministry is basically telling people what they already know, about what they already have, and about what they already are. And if you look at that, ministry, and I do, ministry belongs to all of us. And so where am I coming from with this talk today? Well, you could say at any point in any of our lives that we're living in a period of time of uncertainty, okay? Whatever we're going to call this post-COVID time, some people have called it a war. I quite like that, actually. But at the end of the day, we are looking for so many answers amid so much chaos and confusion, paranoia even, and finding so few. And more than ever, do we need to affirm the spiritual architecture and the apparatus that will allow us to do it. And let me just say as well, thank you so much, Laurie and Christopher, for the beautiful music. I do look at things in a metaphysical context, and not that I see with my eyes, as it were, but for what happens in a church service, even if we're thousands of miles away, it's those that get up at the start of it that clear the way for what happens during the hour or so that we're together. And I could actually really very much feel that during the first song Christopher played. So thank you so much. And Ray as well, for the beautiful daily word today. I look within and find my personal power. And I was thinking, damn, I should have used that one. Ephesians, that would have worked great. That would have worked great, because really what I want to share with you is that message about looking within and finding our personal power. Okay, so yes, I've chosen seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. You all know that. You all know that very, very well, and that's why I've chosen it. You're familiar with it. Like there's a potential, there's an active momentum there. We're all familiar with those words. Taking the actual quote, because I'm not going to throw much Bible at you today. It is, but seek first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, and all these will be added to you. Okay, so we've got the components of seeking the kingdom of heaven and doing that first. Okay. Very familiar with it, and with most of the good stuff in the Bible, it's highly underexplored and highly underutilized. I often find it helps me to understand things in the Bible by looking at what's around it, right? And so if that's Matthew 6:33, Matthew 6:31 says, therefore take no thought, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or wherewithal shall we be clothed? Okay, it's advising us not to worry so much about the physical, the material. And I laugh as I read those words, because it sounds an awful lot like my kids do first thing in the morning, like, Dad, where are my shoes? And I'm like, you're wearing them. And they're like, what are we having for breakfast? Same thing we have every day. And you're all parents, you know how it goes. I like that, because we are like children of God. Okay. Think too much, do we? And so I'm going to get to the kingdom of heaven thing in a minute. It's not the most challenging part of that quote. Let's just look at seeking in a minute. Okay, what does seeking mean in a moment? I would say in this context, I would say seeking means continually looking. So there's this misnomer in spiritual exploration, education, and all the new agey stuff that I like as well, that you can say something and it will happen. It's like, I don't see that as the way in this world. I see you plant a seed, you water it, it takes a while to grow, and then it grows, but you don't have an oak tree straight away. You have to continually look. And if we're seeking, in this case, it's a destination that continually changes, as it were. To seek is to reset, is to change our state of being from something it currently is to something, to a better version of it. But you see, the crux of this, I feel, and I'm going to go there a couple of times in the minutes I have here. The crux of this quote is, why are we being advised to seek in the first place? Why aren't we already seeking? Okay, I think it's tremendously important to look at the obstructions and the distraction that's in the way. And much of that can be brought down to the intangibility, right? We'll get to kingdom of heaven in a minute, as I say, but that in and of itself is intangible. I cannot show you it. I cannot show you it. You know when you feel it, but I can't show you it. At the end of the day, it's something good. It's not our natural state, a natural orientation, as it were, to look to that which we can't see. It's our natural state to look at things that we can see, right? That we can pick up and do things with. And even this little post-it note, I wrote stuff on here like, compliment Christopher on the beautiful music. Okay, we like tangibility. It works for us and it is a thing. Intangibility is going to take some work. And because we can't see it, can't touch it, can't address it with any of the five senses, there's part of us that doesn't think we need to. And we've got a culture of distrust as well. It kind of tells us it's not there. There's maybe a couple of Star Wars fans in the in a church today, as it were, and it's what is it? It's "May the Force be with you." May the Force be with you. And well, my grievance with that, I like my Star Wars when I can. Okay, I'm not mad about it. But anyway, if I could rewrite those words, it wouldn't be force, it would be flow. And I'd go the other way around and say, "May we be with the flow." Because the flow doesn't go anywhere. But there's this idea in the culture that it does. It makes up his mind. Do we deserve to? Do we not deserve to? And already in there, we've got this thought in our head. It might not be there. We might not be worthy of it. Right? I don't agree. What is the kingdom of heaven? Right. Inside of 30 seconds. Well, in a way, this is the easy part. So let's go to Matthew 6:34. Okay, so it's the next line after "Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven." It says, "Take therefore no thought for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself." That means don't worry about tomorrow, don't worry about the future, it will take care of itself. Okay. In fact, this whole thing is about not worrying. But if we're not worrying about the future, then we're in the present moment. Kingdom of heaven is the present moment. Now, I don't know who's listening to me right now, or if anyone actually is. I'm joking. I don't know who's listening to me. I don't know what your backgrounds are. And so I don't want to assume that it's familiar and clear to all of you that heaven is not a place we go to necessarily when we die. Heaven is a place that's accessible and available right now with the appropriate, as it were, state of being. We're invited, as it were, to create heaven on earth, are we not? And that's a very real and very possible experience, one which you all have a number of times a day, amidst the other things. It's an interesting thing when you take the letters om, and throw them on the end of a word. In this case, kingdom. But we have other words like freedom and serfdom and so on. Now, when you do that, you don't create a physical state. You invoke you invoke a feeling. Okay, you invoke a feeling, and so a state of being and the opportunity. It's always right there with us. What is the kingdom of heaven in regard to that which we can seek? I'd say a few things to you, because I'm not going to get it entirely right, am I? I'm a human. I would say to you that the kingdom of heaven is the best version of ourselves that we can find and express at any given time. I'd also say If you can hear it in other words, I'd say it's our highest alignment at any given time. It's a feeling of focus, of clarity, peace, and understanding. We've already had Peace Be Still this morning. We've had that beautiful song. We know what we want, and we know what it feels like. The invitation is to seek it first, is to seek it first before you do other things. The invitation is to prioritize seeking. The invitation is to prioritize changing our current state of being. I'm a fan of the superhero movies, okay? Some of you have maybe seen Wonder Woman, right? Wonder Woman. Now, the bad guy in Wonder Woman, actually, you can't, in history as he appears, all he does is whisper things in people's ears, and then the humans do all things like destruction and create war. I'm not remembering names right now, but that's what he does. The bad guy actually doesn't do anything himself. Now, we're not living in a Wonder Woman movie, or I'm not anyway. So we ask ourselves, well, what are we listening to? That was a question posed by the amazing Eric Butterworth. And if you haven't flicked through it, it's because it's probably there in the bookstore there. If you haven't flicked through it, his book, Practical Metaphysics, is still to me the best library, almost collection of unity teachings and expressions that I've ever found. And he talks about that. In the beginning was the word, and so we listen to the word, but the word is not spoken. The word is a feeling. The word is connection. So if we're not prioritizing finding that first, if we're not prioritizing seeking it first, what are we doing instead? As the great Fred Rogers said, Mr. Rogers, he said, if it's mentionable, it's manageable, it's changeable. And so I would say there are other kingdoms we're looking for first, okay? We're human. And we look to, excuse me, we look to problems. We look to the kingdoms of gossip, the kingdom of separation, because it is familiar to us. And we humans, we like familiar because it's tangible, because we're used to it. Also, I really believe humans like solving problems. We like to get ourselves into corners so that we can show that we can fight our way out. We have mistake. We are. I think the great mistake, other than choosing separation about being human, is that we look outside of ourselves instead of inside. And we are all going to need to learn this lesson about 25,000 times in our lives. If you think about how many times you go to church, the message of seeking that which is within, it's not going to go away. And you've heard it a number of times, but we still need to hear it a few more 100,000 times, don't we? Because we're having some of the same problems over and over again. Talk about that next week, maybe. We have other needs, and some of those are governed by the five senses. Needs like needing to go to the bathroom, needing to have coffee in the morning, right? So I'm not saying we roll out of bed and seek the kingdom of heaven because you might need to go for a pee instead. Yes, this is how I talk, ladies and gentlemen. You need to get yourself into alignment before you can receive that greater part of yourselves. And something else I'll say about the kingdom of heaven. In fact, no, I won't say it. I'm going to parrot it because I really enjoyed it. Some of you may have come across the book, The Way of the Heart. It is messages from Yeshua. And in part of that, he speaks that the kingdom of heaven actually frightens us almost, because the truth, he says, the truth of the kingdom, it requires openness, trust, expansiveness, and spaciousness. It involves allowing, trusting, witnessing, and letting things come and letting things go. We don't like to let things go, do we? Whatever the kingdom of heaven is, and it's many, many things, I would offer to you one of the things is love. And from a metaphysical perspective, one of the things love does is clear out its opposite. Say the opposite of love is fear, perhaps. And as fear is cleared and cleaned out of us, we feel it. We don't like feeling fear. We don't like feeling exposed or vulnerable or weak or any of these things. Another mistake we make as humans is thinking when we feel it, we are it. Actually, no. When we feel it, it's leaving us. And so, we are seeking. What helps us find what we're seeking? This concept of seeking the kingdom of heaven. First, it's a directional or intentional one. I'm doing this, I don't like it. I'm going to do this because I might like that more. And then the propulsion behind that. Couple of things that help us get there. Bearing in mind, you all know this, right? A couple of things that help us get there. First of all is surrender. It's surrender. Now, that is a very, very easy word to say, surrender. But sometimes it begins simply with, I just don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. And we have to be careful with our I don't know, because I don't know is often I don't want to know, masquerading as something else. But when we truly openly say, I do not know what to do, we allow ourselves to step a little bit out of the way. It is that willingness to seek, it's wanting it enough. Some of you may have heard of the teacher, Hilda Charlton, wonderful, wonderful teacher. And she would speak of the difference between wanting God and wanting to want God. And with the absolute greatest respect to all of us, I put us in the latter category. We want to want God. But we'll get there. We will get there in the fullness of time. But when you really want something, right? Generally, you get it quicker than slower. And if heaven isn't the flavor, right? And some of you may have had a so-so experience with religion in your past. You might not like that word, heaven. We can seek things like it. We can seek innocence. We can seek play. Even when the world reflects the complete opposite to us. We can seek a different environment. I remember hearing an interview with Sarah Blakely, who I believe is the CEO of a company called Spanx, which I know very little about, other than the CEO is Sarah Blakely rather. But anyway, she discovered over her years as working and being a CEO that she did her best thinking in the car. She get her best ideas. Maybe next week I'll bore you with the metaphysics of what actually happens inside of a car. Not right now. I'll bore you with other things right now. But anyway, she realized she got her best thinking and got into her best state and best version of herself in the car. But she only lived 5 minutes away from the office. And so what she did is she created a fake commute, which took her actually 45 minutes to get into the office. So she could have that time. And so she could show up at work with the best ideas and the best version of herself as a leader. So I do need to watch the time here. I am passionate about this, but I could go on a while and bring this to conclusion. And I'm going to say this to you. We're always seeking the kingdom. We have a spiritual and perfected blueprint in us. It will always get its way in time, in time. I'll share the words of the wonderful Rumi as well. He said, what you seek is seeking you. What you seek is seeking you. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in my life. But I believe it's a metaphysical reality as well. And you cannot have a problem without a solution. You cannot have a question without an answer. And you cannot seek without finding. I'll say again, ministry is about telling people what they already know, about what they already have, and what they already are, So think about this. If you're making an actual, continual, deliberate choices to change your state of being into a slightly higher one, slightly better one, slightly more receptive one, if you even do that in this moment, you consider you're going to run into about 10, 20 people today between now and going to bed, in the store and the street, so on. You think about what version of you they are coming across. Is it going to be the version of you that gives you that beautiful smile, the sort of smile that makes people smile? You make someone smile, invariably they'll make someone else smile. You do that 10 times, you have ministered to 100 people. I'm not even being excessive with numbers here. You can do the numbers. It really comes down to your choice. How much do you matter? How much does the expression of your life matter? These parts of ourselves that wish to keep ourselves down, they don't keep time. You may have noticed that. Now, I'm not suggesting or inferring or expecting that you'll get all of what I'm saying inside of 10 minutes, 15 minutes that I've been talking. Wish that was the case, but I'm not that good. But it doesn't need to take 10 or 15 years either. And this is the power, as Ray said, of bringing your attention within. And this supports us to make peace with uncertainty. And I'll close this with these words before passing back to Sherry. I want to say to you, seek the kingdom of heaven in yourself, but also seek it in other people.